Hi guys, it's Mrs. Green Science Queen here to talk to you about the energy flow in ecosystems. Most energy for ecosystems comes from the sun. All right, so the original source of energy for most living things on this planet is the sun. Organisms called producers are able to absorb this light energy and turn it into food, a molecule called glucose, by the process called photosynthesis, which we have discussed before. In a food chain, an organism can eat only one thing, which is pretty much realistic. Most organisms don't only eat one thing. So most of the time we are going to use food webs, which show the many feeding relationships possible in ecosystem to show how energy flows through the ecosystem. We label the different members of a food chain or food web depending on what and where they eat in the chain. So producers or autotrophs are organisms which make their own food using sunlight, plants and algae. They can also make their own food using other processes, but most of the time we're going to stick with photoautotrophs or ones that use light. Okay, consumers are heterotrophs or organisms that eat other organisms to get energy, and they include herbivores, which only eat producers, carnivores, which only eat consumers, and omnivores, which eat both producers and consumers. We also have decomposers, which feed on dead things or waste and break them down, returning nutrients to the environment. We have predators that hunt and kill their own food, which we refer to as prey. And we have scavengers, which feed on animals that are already dead. So, depending on where an organism eats in the food chain, determines its trophic level. And some rules about trophic levels you need to be familiar with. The higher the trophic level, the less energy that's available. Producers are always at the bottom, and consumers go above. Organisms break down food to give themselves energy through the process of cellular respiration, which we've discussed before, which is the opposite of photosynthesis. Organisms then use most of this energy to do three things: to move, reproduce, and grow. Or the energy is given off as heat as a waste product from the body. Since about 90% of the energy is used by the organism itself, only about 10% of the energy is available to the next organism that eats it or to the next trophic level. We can make what's called an energy pyramid, which shows the energy loss through a food chain. And the basic rule is this: the higher the trophic level, the less stored energy there is to be passed on, which is why the levels get smaller as you go up the top of the pyramid. And finally, there are fewer organisms in the top trophic levels because there is less energy available to them. This explains basic energy flow in ecosystems and the terms that you need to know to understand food chains and food webs and energy.